So we are in the introduction of the SiddurZichron Dovid, and we got to page 34, which is the Talit and Tefilin. Okay, so we have today the secrets and the halachot of Talit and Tefilin, and Bezrat Hashem, that all of Am Yisrael will have the merit to apply that and integrate it in their life, Bezrat Hashem.
Amen.
Yes.
The spiritual secrets of tzitzis. Any garment symbolizes surrounding light. As a general rule, the external, evil forces do not have surrounding light. Therefore, the external forces want our surrounding light. This is why the snake, being jealous of Adam's surrounding light, seduced Eve into sin in order to gain access to spiritual garments. When we do mitzvahs, we are creating spiritual garments. Therefore, the mitzvah of wearing tzitzis is powerful. First, it helps in protecting us from the external forces by creating a powerful surrounding light. Second, it reminds us to do mitzvahs, thus adding...
Before the second, let's just discuss the first one.
I was getting inspired.
That's good. Get inspired. I like inspiration. So
You like inspired students.
inspired students, exactly. That's what I like. So, first of all, I always give this parable of like the surrounding the external forces, that it's like germs. Why is it like germs? That, as you know, germs, they don't like it when it's too hot or too cold, right? When it's too cold, they freeze, they cannot multiply. When it's too hot, they die, right? So the germs, they get like, you know, they get really inspired when it's just, you know, middle temperature, not too cold, not too hot, right? So the external forces, so they have the possibility to grab the average light when it's not too strong, when it's not too weak. If it's too weak, so there's no sustenance for them, so why to bother? When it's too strong, so they can't hold it, it's too strong for them, they can't get near it, right? When it's just the average, just like fitting to them, then they have the possibility to grab it. So therefore, it seems, I don't know if you noticed, but it, in a certain way, there's a little contradiction here. In the first hand, we say they want the surrounding light, and then we say that the tzitzit is surrounding light, and therefore it's protecting us. So, right? How does it work? So the answer is that the tzitzit is a very, very big, strong surrounding light. It's not the surrounding light that they want. That's something that they can't handle. It's too much. So therefore, the tzitzit is a spiritual protection. When we're putting the tzitzit on, we have such a surrounding light that it gives us protection. Okay? Obviously, it's not absolute protection. Unfortunately, there is people that they have tzitzit and they falling into sins. They are not. It's not a full protection against the Yetzer Hara, but it definitely helps, right? And we read it every time we're reading the Parsha of Tzitzit. Say, "Ureitem oto uzchartem." You see the tzitzit and you remember. You remember the mitzvot of Hashem. You remember Hashem, right? When a person remembers Hashem, so there is a protection not to sin. The whole tendency of getting to sin is starting from forgetfulness. When someone is forgetting about Hashem, his relationship with Hashem, and so on and so forth, so then, like, is much easier that he will fall into sin. As much as we remember more, and we are living that relationship, this connection that we have with Hashem, so then we are, to a certain degree, protected, right? Obviously, there is exceptions, and the Yetzer Hara is known to have multiple tricks, and every time is finding new tricks. In the same way, we have to find new tricks to fight back, right? To maybe not to fight back, but to
navigate,
get away. So the king can fight back. We can, like, somehow get out of those situations, hopefully. Bezrat Hashem. Anyhow, generally, every mitzvah is a spiritual garment, right? That's also what we read here. And as much as we're doing, that's also related to what we were discussing about the Malbish Harumim, right? When we were discussing the bracha of Malbish Harumim, Noten Layaf Koach, all of those concepts of spiritual garments. So this is also related to what we're reading here. The mitzvot are the spiritual garments of the neshama. So as much as we're doing more mitzvot, we are creating more spiritual garments, and all of the spiritual garments are spiritual protection. But specifically from all of the mitzvot, tzitzit is special because also in the physical it is a garment, right? So generally all the mitzvot are garments, but when we have the tzitzit that it's also a mitzvah and also it's a garment, so it becomes to be more of a significant garment for this spiritual protection that we're speaking about. Okay, so that was the first. Now you can read the second.
Now I can say something.
Yeah.
Or?
1 second.
Yeah.
So wearing one, wearing 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 at the same time, would that give you more of a radius?
Yes. Every tzitzit that you're wearing, it gives more of a protection. And there is tzaddikim. The one that is very famous about is Rav Scheinberg, the Zatzal, that he used to go with many tzitziot.
I think that sort of explains it.
What?
I've always sucked an explanation. That sounds good explanation.
So that's one person, but also Rav Kook. I don't know if you heard about him. Rav Kook in Feria is also going with many shlita. He's still alive. Baruch Hashem. Hashem will give him long life. One of the tzaddikim of our generation.
Oh, man.
So he's also going with many tzitziot. Every tzitzit is a mitzvah, and every tzitzit is a spiritual garment, and every spiritual garment is extra protection.
Is it like protecting you just when you put it on, or after you say the bracha, or if you take it off and switch to another pair of tzitzit, do you still have the same,
If it's kosher tzitzit, fine. Yeah, no problem.
But does the power of the radius of the protection, is it from when you just put it on, or is it when you say after you say the bracha on them?
Well, generally, that's a general question. What's the difference between a mitzvah with the bracha and without the bracha, right? So we know that the physical is doing the tikkun of the world of asiyah, and the voice, saying over the bracha, is doing the tikkun of the yitzirah, right? So when someone is just doing the mitzvah and he is not saying the bracha, so you have the protection only in the dimension of the asiyah. If you're also adding the bracha, so you have the protection also in the level of the yitzirah. If he's also adding the meditation, as we're going to read now, B'ezrat Hashem, so he's adding also the protection in the level of the bria. And if he's really getting like everything in unity, connecting, so on, so then it gets to the level of Atzilut.
Same case with talking about the Tefilin.
Same case with all of the mitzvot. Tefillin,
but as much as strong as tzitzis might be, also Tefilin is the same aspect of wearing them.
That's an interesting question. Is like in a certain there's a discussion about tefillin. Is it count as a garment? So there is a concept like that in Masechet Shabbat, that it says if somebody found like tefillin in public domain in Shabbat, so and there's no eruv, so just to leave them like that is a disgrace for the tefillin. To carry them is a prohibition of the Oraita to carry in the public domain. So the answer is that he can wrap it on him like a garment and go with it to the private domain, even though Shabbat is not the time for tefillin. So it's not the mitzvah of tefillin, just a garment. So there is a concept that we are treating the tefillin as a garment, but usually it's not like when you're putting on tefillin, you're not putting it because you need the garment. It's not, right? That's not a reason to put on tefillin.
At this point,
just to to look more respectable, maybe, I don't know.
At this point, tzitzis isn't a garment either. You buy tzitzis specifically with intention of wearing tzitzis, not as a garment itself.
Okay, but tzitzit is a garment. That's right. Like the portion of the Torah that speaks about the mitzvah of tzitzit is talking about like the garment, right? Mm-hmm. To put the tzitzit on the edges of your garment. So today we're not using this kind of garments if it's not tzitzit, right? In the old times, people used to wrap themselves with like square cloth. Not only Jews, just that was like a It was blanket, to go around the
I've heard the
wall
same
with the
thing.
blanket.
The first time I heard about this concept of protection, of a surrounding protection around the person, was about the recitation of the Shema.
About?
When you recite the Shema.
Yeah.
So I heard that that's what's like the biggest protection you can have, and you hear many stories of that. But
Okay, how to measure what is the weight of Shema and the weight of tzitzit? I'm not saying that Shema is less than tzitzit. Maybe it's the same. Maybe Shema is more. But we can't really value what is the value of the different mitzvot. We can have certain understanding, but it's very limited. We don't. I don't know who can say what's greater: tzitzit, Tefilin, Kriyat Shema. I don't know. There is definitely a point of Kriyat Shema that it's
we'll get to
wrapping the connection with Hashem. Without Hashem, we'll get to it. Anyhow, let's continue.
Second, it reminds us to do the mitzvahs, thus adding to our surrounding light, as it is written, and you shall see it and remember all the mitzvahs of Hashem.
Right, so again, that's connected to what I just said, the remembrance. Now, we know that some mitzvot we can't do, right? Majority of the mitzvot we can't do. Don't have Beit HaMikdash, we are not Kohanim. Most of the mitzvot, if you look on the Minyan mitzvot of the Rambam, so most of the mitzvot are in the Beit HaMikdash for the Kohanim. So we don't have them today, unfortunately, but Rad Hashem soon. But it says that somebody that is dealing with certain mitzvah, doesn't say if he's reading it, if he's dealing with it, העוסק בתורת עולה, so as if he's performing this mitzvah. Okay? So with that understanding, we can understand better what it says here, that as much as we remember all of the mitzvot, so we have more surrounding light, in a way as if we did them. Yeah? So if we would memorize all of the 613 mitzvot and go within our head through all of the mitzvot, so that definitely creates a surrounding light, right? So in a certain way, the tzitzit gives us a certain quality in that direction. Obviously, it's not the same as if someone would have really made it on, to go through all of the mitzvot in his mind, but in a certain way, that just wearing the tzitzit, specifically looking on the tzitziot, we have that quality. It goes in that direction. Okay, so that's why another understanding why the tzitzit is special in giving us the surrounding light.
So another question would be: is the person who ties the tzitzis, who does it, now wouldn't there be different levels of the kavanah that he could have in tying it? Would that also create a better protection of light?
Definitely. As much as the mitzvah of tzitzit or the Tefilin was any mitzvah, Sefer Torah, whatever, is done with more intention, with more meditation, with more full heart in the mitzvah. So then the mitzvah is more meaningful. So if there is stories about Tefillin or tzitzit of special tzaddikim that they did it themselves or something like that, and then someone else got it whatever different ways. And there's definitely stories about people that had all kinds of special experiences with it. I'll tell you a little story about it that I heard from my friend Simon, that he heard it from Rabbi Chai, I think, that there was a person that used to learn in Bethel many years ago, that he got tefillin of one of the previous rabbis. I think it was Rav Getz. I'm not sure who was one of the rabbis that was learning there. And don't ask me why, but every time he was wearing that tefillin, he saw in front of him the words Shema Israel, letters of fire, like floating in the air, and he like it, obviously it gives him like a lot of inspiration in his prayer every time he was putting on tefillin. One day something happened, like whatever he left the tefillin in one place, somebody thought it's his, got switched, he lost the tefillin. And he was all broken. Every time he saw someone with the small tefillin, he told him, "Tell me, I want to ask you a question. When you're putting on the tefillin, do you see letters of fire that says Shema Israel?" So the person that told me the story, he was asked this question. This person came to him, told him like, do you see the like letters of Shema Israel when you're putting on your tefillin? Because it was small tefillin, like the one that he lost. He said, "No." "Why do you ask?" So he told him all this story. So that's like a second-hand story about this subject matter, and I can tell you more than that. There was someone that I know that he took a tzitzit that was like belonged before him to one of the Mekubalim, and he was wearing that for, like this Mekubal was wearing that for a while, and when this person took it, so he said that he felt protected. He said, "I don't know what it is, but when I'm wearing this tzitzit, I feel nothing can harm me. I feel the protection." And he held it as long as he could until it got torn. So yes, the answer is that definitely those things have a meaning and have an effect, and as much as we can, it's good to have. There was one last story. There was a Sefer Torah that somebody showed Rav Mordechai Eliyahu Zatzal, or Tefillin. I'm not sure if it was Tefillin or tzitzit. So it was the letters were very beautiful. So they wanted to show Rav Mordechai Eliyahu like what the nice letters of this Sefer. So he told them the writing is very beautiful, but tell the Sefer that it's not right to hear radio, like music of radio, while he's writing that Tefillin. So Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, he was able to like see in the letters what was like in the head of the Sefer that while he was writing, because he was such a holy man.
You know, Rabbi Landau from Rabbi Landau.
Yeah.
So when he has his like if you buy something with his hechsher on it, mezuzahs or tefillin, and he does have it with his hechsher. They're not allowed to like listen to radios or to like sichos or anything. They have to do it in quiet. That's his agreement with the sofers. If they want to have his, they want to be under him, they have to do that.
Yeah.
And I had a question about the tefillin of the way he saw the Shema Yisrael in the air. Is it because he owned it, or is it because the sofer who wrote it, it was that level of that, or is it because he owned it? Which one would it be?
I think it's a little bit of both. The same Mekubal that had it before he had it, so probably he got it from like very qualified sofer, and then also he wore it. So both of them together, obviously.
He could have written it himself too.
What? Maybe he wrote it himself? Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say like things that I'm not sure of, but I'm just saying that it's definitely have a meaning.
Furthermore, tzitzis are an aid for memory, which is on the side of kedusha because it repels the klipot that cause forgetfulness.
So that's a statement of the Arizal, that every forgetfulness is coming from the klipa. As much as a person is more forgetfulness, so it means that there's more of a grab of klipa over him, and it doesn't have to be that it's his fault. It can be something that is from like previous incarnation. It can be like many reasons for that. Doesn't mean that the person himself made sins, but this is a situation. So a person like that, he will definitely need more help to get out of that situation, whatever it is, right? So anything that we have that will help us for memory, there's a few things, not only tzitzit, it's brought down in Chazal, different things that are causing forgetfulness or helping for memory. And everything that is causing forgetfulness, The meaning of that, according to the Arizal, is that it gives place for the klipa to grab onto. And anything that is helping for memory, it means that is helping us to get away from the klipa. Yeah, simple. So tzitzit is one of the major things that is helping us for memory. Why? Because what we explained before.
When a person is getting dressed, it is important that he puts one garment on at a time. By doing so, he allows space between each garment for the harm of kif, thus protecting for him from klipot.
Right? So as much as we have...
What's that thing? Arm of kif?
Yeah. The surrounding light, or mekif, yeah, is again symbolized by the garments. So when we're putting one garment, so it has a meaning of one surrounding light. If you're putting two garments together, so it's like putting two layers as one. So we are losing the extra quality that we're gaining by the two. Yeah. As much as there is, I don't know if you know, but there was like big tzaddikim that had many garments, not only tzitzit, all kinds of different garments. For example, the Baba Sali was known that he had like all kinds of extra garments besides of the regular like standard set. I'm not saying that the person have to like try to wear as much garments as he can, but if he does, so it has meaning. Everything has spiritual meaning. So to gain the potential spiritual protection that is there for us, so the way to do that is to do it one by one. And then we're giving the place and time for each one of them, so it will be the surrounding light that it can. If we're not, so we're losing this potential. We're missing out this potential. Okay?
How can you be dressing with more than one by one?
Do it one at a time.
How do you do two at a time? I mean, maybe only your shoes.
If you're wearing thermal undershirts, you could put one on and then another one on top of it, where you could just put them on together.
If you're going to the mikveh and you're taking out the two shirts in the same time,
right,
you can the same way put them back together at once.
Some people are more...
So the answer is that you have to separate between them and wear them one by one.
Some people are more capable than me. I can't tell.
And it works the same way also, taking off. Is that correct?
To take off,
It affects memory also.
it doesn't say that you have to take them off one by one.
Yeah, it's written somewhere that if you take two garments off at the same time, that's what affects memory. I learned that.
If you find me the source for that, I'll be happy, because there is someone that I had this argument with,
right,
and he was telling me the same thing,
but he
and
had no source.
He didn't have a source, and I said I never saw something like that.
Right, sure.
So if you'll give me the source, I'll be happy.
Sure.
Okay.
Halachot, laws of tzitzis. Before saying the blessing of the tzitzis, one should check the strings of the garment and make sure that they are kosher and qualify as tzitzis. Ask your rabbi about laws of tzitzis.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have the space here to like a whole set of halachot of the tzitzit, but like just to make it simple, usually the case is that there's like the strings are torn, or the garment is torn to a place that it's like there's not enough of garment, so that it is just hanging there, like on the last strings there of the garment. So then it becomes to be pasul. Okay, that's usually the things that can get wrong with the tzitzit that used to be kosher. So just to check that everything is there, right? Me myself, I was one time I had like a talit, and while I was like wearing that, I went like in the kotel, and it got stuck somewhere, and I was in a hurry, so I maybe I was running. Anyhow, when I got to the Bet Knesset, I found out that like the whole corner of the garment was missing, like it like the tzitzit was tearing like the whole corner of the garment, and so there were, so in that case it happened after I put it on. But if I wouldn't notice before or there, so in the next time for saying the bracha, if something like that happens, God forbid, so you can't say the bracha, right? If you say the bracha on a tzitzit that is pasul, it's bracha lebatala, right? So that's why we want to make sure that tzitzit is kasher before we say the bracha. Now, if somebody didn't check and he said the bracha, it's fine. B'diavad. Why? Because you can rely on the chazakah that yesterday it was kasher. Usually nothing happens from one thing to another. So if yesterday it was kasher, so probably also today it's kasher. It has the chazakah. It's better to check. Lechatchila says to check. But if somebody didn't check, whatever, he didn't have time, the minyan is rushing, whatever it is, he can say the bracha and relying on the chazakah of yesterday.
But the halacha is that you should definitely check. I mean, sounds quite strict that you should check them every day.
Lechatchila, you should check. But there is people that for different reasons they are in a hurry.
They forget to check, but it's only
not about forget. Like they know that they should check, but they don't have the time. They have to do it like right now to put on the tzitzit. Yeah. For example, when someone is called to the Torah, he doesn't want like to check for a long time. All the congregation is waiting for him.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So he just want to put on himself a tzitzit. Some people say you shouldn't say bracha in that case. But if somebody wants to say bracha,
you can rely on the
chazakah.
Further, one should make it also separate the tzitzis by hand so that they not be tangled. However, on Shabbos, only check that there are enough tzitzis, but do not untangle them.
Right. In Shabbat, we're not allowed to untangle.
Okay. Further, one should make it a habit to check each day to see that none of the strings on the corners of the garment are severed, making the whole garment unusable for the mitzvah. That way, if there comes a time when he is unable to check, he may rely on a chazakah, the prior status, and not check that time. And likewise, one who is traveling and unable to repair the tzitzis, the Chachamim have written that one could rely on a chazakah and not check. So that's even like consciously don't check.
That's what I said.
Right.
But that's talking about the case that you know that yesterday it was kosher, yeah, and or maybe a week ago, but you use it through the week. But if somebody, for example, like a Ashkenazi Bachur that doesn't wear Talit usually, and he have Talit for like once in a while, thing that they call him up to the Torah. Yeah, we have someone like that. So he's keeping his Talit away. It's not part of the Talit of the Bet Knesset, but he's not using it usually. So then, in a case like that, he doesn't have a chazakah. Yesterday he didn't check it. Before that he didn't check it.
Maybe somebody else used it also.
Like he doesn't know what's the situation of the tzitzit. So then to use it without bracha, like to say the bracha without checking, it becomes to be a problem because he doesn't really have chazakah to rely on.
Did you ever hear that if somebody's tzitzis on their baguette is like all bunched up, that they're maybe like not really on the path so well? Have you ever heard that before? Is there a source for that if you've heard it?
I did hear something like that. It's very hard to say things like that about other people. But let's say for ourselves, if we see that our tzitzit is tangled together, so maybe it's time to look over ourselves and to see what is it that we have to correct our ways.
Is there a source for that?
Your mind is tangled, untangle your tzitzis.
I think that there is the source for that is combination of few sources together. It's not like one clear source that says it, but there is a connection between the hairs and the tzitzit. Okay, there is a connection, and about the hairs there is a source about something similar about the hairs, that when they are tangled, so it means that the person has certain complexity. Let's put it this way.
Hairs in their beard or their head?
Both.
I see big rabbis with their total not
Okay, I'm not saying that those people are off and like off the way or not keeping mitzvot. I'm not saying, but it is an issue. It means that
there's a source for that also.
There is source for that. Yeah, it's a very, very delicate subject matter because we don't know what is the issue, right? So we don't want to point on other people, but like I said before, for ourselves, like whenever things like that happens, so it's good to look and try to understand for ourselves what we can straighten our ways and do better. B'ezrat Hashem.
The custom of the tzitzit katan. The custom of the Arizal is to rub the tzitzis katan over his head. Say the blessing litatef v'tzitzit. Then he would take the two tzitziot from the right side and gather them together with the two tzitzios from the left side, and place the four tzitzios over the left shoulder, and tap the four tzitzios on his back twice. After that, he would put his head through the opening of the tzitzis katan. The Arizal would wear the tzitzis katan under his clothing.
Just a moment. Meaning, what we wrote here is to exclude the way that many people do, that they don't say litatef betzitzit on the tzitzit katan, they say al mitzvah tzitzit, right? See that also in the Siddurim, al mitzvah tzitzit, and then they don't wrap it around them, they just put it like on the head, right? But according to the Arizal, we don't do the mitzvah of al mitzvah tzitzit. We say litatef betzitzit, and even though it's tzitzit katan, so we don't really wrapping ourselves with the tzitzit katan. So how can we say litatef? So the answer is that yes, we're wrapping ourselves for a moment. Yeah, the time it takes to go like forward, and then we put the head through. Yeah, and then we have the bracha of litatef betzitzit, like on tzitzit gadol. So basically, we're using the tzitzit katan like a tzitzit gadol, but then afterwards we're putting it on the head. Well,
do you do this?
Yeah.
So you say bracha on your
tzitzit katan?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another question. Generally, can you say bracha on tzitzit katan? That's another question. That's not. I had the question. What I was speaking about is which bracha.
Sure.
But about your question of saying bracha for tzitzit katan, so. I'll tell you, one time I went out of the mikveh and to a place that I can say bracha, and I said litatef betzitzit on the tzitzit katan, and then in the same moment that I said it, there was like a big rabbi, I don't want to say his name, that he just came and he heard me saying like litatef betzitzit on the tzitzit katan. He looked at me and said, "You're saying bracha al tzitzit katan? How can you say bracha? The Mishnah Berurah says not to say bracha on the tzitzit katan." And I was like, I didn't know what to say. It's like one of the biggest rabbis of our generation. I don't want to get in arguments with rabbis like that. So whatever, I said, okay, that's what I do, but I didn't get into discussion about it. Anyhow, afterwards I went back to the yeshiva and I did some homework, and I looked on the sugya. Okay, I opened up the whole sugya there, and it's very interesting. If you look on the Mishnah Berurah, you get the impression, like this rabbi said, that you never say bracha on tzitzit katan. That's a simple understanding of the Mishnah Berurah. When you're looking on the Be'ur Halacha, which is the same rabbi, Rav Israel Meir Miradin. So in the Be'ur Halacha, is explaining that the reason not to say the bracha on the tzitzit katan is that he says usually our tzitzit katan is pasul. So from that reality, that for whatever reason in their time, usually the tzitzit katan was pasul, came to be custom of not saying bracha on the tzitzit katan. You can't if it's pasul. It's safek brachot lakel. If you have any doubt, so you don't say bracha. But it's very clear from the Be'ur Halacha that when you know that your tzitzit katan is kasher, you can definitely say bracha. Yeah?
And that's what you do?
And that's what I do. I'm making sure that my tzitzit katan is kasher and I'm saying bracha.
What's the bracha you say over the tzitzis katan? yourself? This one? להתעטף
להתעטף
בציצית
בציצית.
הקטן, but you didn't say
לא,
it.
לא, להתעטף בציצית.
Under
Just
קטן.
להתעטף בציצית.
And you do that when, at what time? Like in the first in the
Whenever
morning?
you were.
When do you do that? When do you do it? Usually.
Usually, okay, that's another point of if you didn't take out the tzitzit, yeah. So when do you say bracha? You're staying with it like 24/7 with the same tzitzit.
No, but
so
I
when do you say the bracha?
I don't do that though. I
Okay,
change
if
every
you're changing every morning, so
Yeah.
whenever you're changing, you can say the bracha.
Right then.
Right then,
And even if that's before your morning brachas?
yes.
Well, what if you put your? Does that also count for the
Just
Talis
washing
Gadol?
hands, yeah, like to wash the hands before. What?
What about the Talis Gadol? When you put it on later, you have to make another bracha?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Uh,
There is a chidush. They explain the poskim that you can exempt the tzitzit katan with the bracha of the tzitzit gadol. Yeah, but if you have a big gap between them, if you're putting them like one after the other, so you can say one bracha for both of them.
Sure.
But if you have a big gap between them, so you're changing in the morning or you're going to the mikveh, and then it takes you like half an hour, 1 hour until you're getting to the talis gadol, so you say two brachot definitely.
Is the chiddush that you could put on the Talis Gadol, and then that could exempt the Talis Katan, or it's also the other way around?
Again, there's a few points here.
Oh.
Okay, one thing is if you're wearing few garments with four corners of tzitzit. Doesn't matter tzitzit katan, tzitzit gadol, few tzitzit katan, few tzitzit gadol, whatever combination that you want. If you're wearing them one after the other, you can exempt all of them in one bracha. That's one halacha. Another halacha is what I said, the whole discussion according to the Mishnah Berurah, if you say the bracha on tzitzit katan or you don't. And many people, because of this Mishnah Berurah, so they say safek brachot lakel. We have a doubt, so we don't say the bracha for the tzitzit katan. But what do? You need to say bracha. There is also a side that you need to say bracha for the tzitzit katan, right? So what do? So they say, okay, no problem. We will examine it in the tzitzit gadol. So whenever it is that we're saying the bracha for the tzitzit gadol, so we are having intention that if we needed to say the bracha for the tzitzit katan, we are examining it now with the tzitzit gadol. Yeah, that's like another step on top of that. So then, even though they didn't put it together, but because they didn't say the bracha for the tzitzit katan, so now when they're putting on the tzitzit gadol and they say bracha, so why not to have in mind also the tzitzit katan, that if it needed the bracha, so you have the bracha now. Yeah.
I see one thing that I have a question about that I don't understand. I hear you about first thing in the morning when you change your tzitzit, you say the bracha, but when I go to the mikvah, I it's maybe off my body for 20 minutes or something. So maybe it's better when I leave the mikvah or what you did, go outside and then put it on.
Okay.
Because after that, in your day, there's no more breaks of it ever leaving you.
Right.
But at the mikveh, it does leave you.
Right. So in the mikveh, if you didn't say the bracha before,
Right.
on that garment, that specific garment, so definitely you can say the bracha when you put it on after the mikveh. Yeah. But if you did say the bracha before, then it's a question: do you need to say another time when you're going out of the mikveh and you wear it second time, the same garment?
But now we're getting into the question: is if you say your bracha on your talis and you take it off, how much time do you have where you'd have to say another bracha?
Right.
We're getting it's the same thing.
It's not exactly the same thing. It's not exactly the same thing because the poskim are saying that usually. Okay, let's start like this. It's brought down in the Arizal, in Shar Kavanot, and the Mishnah Berurah brings it, the poskim brings it, that the Arizal, when he went out of the mikveh, he would say the bracha of leitatef b'tzitzit again, on the same garment. Okay,
Wow.
so they explain that really in the mikveh you're not staying there for half an hour. Most of the people, so they explain that half an hour is a break, and more than half an hour you say the bracha, and less than half an hour you don't say the bracha. But so what do you do about the Arizal that he said the bracha after the mikveh? So they say The Arizal was something special because he had such kavanot, he had so much meditation inside of the mikveh. So for him, it was like it was when he goes out of the mikveh, he's a different person, he's a different world. He's not like, so for him he needs to say another bracha. But for us, we are not in that level, so we don't need to say another bracha.
Wow.
So so then you have like a question of like what which
But it's a half an hour, right?
They say they put it half an hour, yeah. The time to make it. Anyhow, the whole concept of asachada, to distract your mind from something, to say another bracha, it's a question, not only about tzitzit, also about drink. Yeah, there's a Gemara that says that there was a rabbi that he like every time before he gave like a zip, he said shakol niya midvoro, he take a zip, put it down. After a few minutes, shakol niya midvoro, take a zip, put it down. And they asked him, like his friends, the rabbis there,
Yeah.
he's asking like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on with you? Every time you're saying another bracha. He says, yeah, every time I'm like distracting my mind. I'm thinking about other things. I forget about the drink. And I have a drink. Okay. So then I have to say another bracha because it distracts his mind. Okay. So it's not so much about the half an hour. The poskim, they say like that it will be like even for everybody, like half an hour for everybody. But it's something that is very personal. If somebody he had distracted his mind, so then it needs another bracha. If he didn't, so he didn't.
Last question on this. So what would you recommend? The second you change your tzitzis and put on, you say bracha, or just wait till you come out of the mikveh and do it?
I would say when you have
It's 40 minutes later. You put on the tzitzis. 30 minutes later, 40 you're to say it in the mikveh.
if I'll say it this way, if the mikveh is a real need, so wait for after the mikveh. If the mikveh is chasidut, extra purity, so then you can say it before the mikveh when you're putting on the first time.
Sure.
There is a
Yeah.
would wear the tzitzis katan under his clothing, because it represents the internal light, while the talit gadol represents the surrounding light.
Okay, this paragraph here is coming to exclude the possibility of wearing the tzitzit katan on top of the clothing.
Yes.
So there is many people that they do that.
Yes.
There is a tradition like that, but the custom of the Arizal is not like that. So, okay.
It is good to look at the tzitzis constantly because it greatly benefits the neshama. Also, it will remind him to do the mitzvahs and save him from sinning.
Right? So as much as every time you have a spare moment and you're not sure what to do with it, so you can look on the tzitzit and you're gaining another mitzvah. Yeah, there's a one of the books of that are counting the mitzvot, the smak, I believe. It counts looking on the tzitzit as a mitzvah. So except of wearing the tzitzit, every time you're looking on the tzitzit, you're gaining another mitzvah. Okay? And the spiritual gain that you gain is what we said before. That reminds you of the mitzvot, and that creates the spiritual garments, that creates the spiritual protection. Right? I think we ran out of time, so Bezrat Hashem Talit Gadol, we will continue tomorrow.
Rabbi.
Who's that rabbi that says that every time you look at the tzitzis, who is it?
I think it's the smak.
Oh, well.
Sefer Mitzvot Katan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or the smak or the smag. One
Every
of
time
them.
you look at the mitzvahs, the tzitzis, what you remember.
That's a special mitzvah.
Baruch Adonai L'Olam. Amen v'amen.